Today we're going to work on how to maximize your ability to use a word search. For some of you this will be old hat. For some of you this might be some new and useful information that will make it a lot easier to find things using online Bible tools. So once again we're going to go up to our web address bar at the top. We're going to go to blueletterbible.org. You can use other websites, but this is the one that I will teach you off of just because it's the one that I use all the time. What I do is you go and you look at this search bar here in the center. We're going to switch it to the version that we're most used to using. In this case, I'm going to switch it to New King James Version. And then what we're going to do today is, using Galatians chapter 1 as our guide, we're going to try and find some places in Galatia and where Paul interacted with them. Now, we know from previous study that there are 4 different places in Galatia that Paul went to. There is Antioch, Pisidia, Lystra, Derbe, and Iconium. Now, what we could do is we could put each of those search terms in individually and see what comes up. Or we can actually put all of them in at once and save ourselves a whole lot of time. So the first thing we're going to do, since we're looking for physical locations that we know that Paul visited, so we're looking for when did Paul visit such and such a city, we know we're going to be looking in history books. So what we're going to do is we have this button right here that says Show Hide Advanced Options. I just clicked it and it brought up this whole extra section. I'm going to click it again and make it go away. And I click it and it'll show those advanced options again. And what we're going to do is we're going to select a range of Bible books to search in. In other words, we don't want to look for these cities in all of the Bible. We just want to look for them in places where we would expect to find them in reference to Paul. Now really we're going to look in the history books of the New Testament. Now the history books in the New Testament are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which all tell the history of Jesus' life, and then the book of Acts. Well, we're not looking at the history of Jesus' life, we're looking at the history of Paul, which will be in the book of Acts. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick the beginning book range our Bible books to be Acts, and we also want the end to be Acts, meaning we're only going to search within the book of Acts for these cities. Now, with that in mind, that immediately made our search much simpler. Now we're going to go back up to this search bar here, and now we're going to type in our search terms. But instead of typing Antioch, Pisidia, and then searching, and then going back and searching for Lystra, and then going back and searching for Derbe, and so on and so forth, we're going to do it all at once. One of the things that you can do in a search function like this is type in the word or. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in Antioch, Pisidia, and then we're going to type O-R, capital. Capitalize the O and the or. O and the R. That's and then we're going to write Lystra. Then we're going to O-R again. Then we're going to type Derbe. Derbe in this case is spelled D-E-R-B-E. Then we're going to type or Iconium. I-C-O-N-I-U-M. So what we have is each of the cities with a capitalized O-R in between. Now what that's going to do is it's going to bring us up any passage within the book of Acts, because we've already set that range, that has the words Antioch, Pisidia, or the word Lystra, or the word Derbe, or the word Iconium. So instead of doing 4 different searches for 4 different cities, we can do it all at once, and it'll save us a lot of time. So we're going to go ahead and hit the search button here, and you'll see down below here it brings up all of the New King James Version times that those words show up. So you can see here we have 11 different verses that it shows up in. 11 different times that those different words show up. Now, instead of looking at each of these individually, what I want you to do is get a little bit better at scanning. The better you can get at scanning concordance search results, the more you're going to get out of search functions. What you see is look over on the side, and you can see the times that these come up are in Acts chapter 13, Acts chapter 14, So there's several different times in Acts chapter 14. Matter of fact, most of them are in Acts chapter 14. 2 times in Acts chapter 16, and then 1 time in Acts chapter 20. And actually, especially you look down here in this Acts chapter 20, and it is simply saying Gaius of Derbe. So it's mentioning a guy from Derbe. So it really is going to have anything to do with what we're dealing with. So really, the first places we want to look are Acts chapter 13 through Acts chapter 14. Now, really what this is going to do is, now instead of saying, well, I need to go and look at each of these individually, we know that, okay, well, look, this is the time when these cities came up in the book of Acts. And in reality, what it means is this is the time in Paul's preaching where he was in these 4 different cities, in these 4 cities of Galatia. So if you read Acts chapter 13 through Acts chapter 14, you're going to find the bulk of the information that the New Testament gives you about the time that Paul spent in these cities of Galatia. So what you've done is, in one word search, maximized where to look to understand Paul's relationship with the Galatian churches. So Acts chapter 13 and Acts chapter 14 are the place at this point that I would go and just start in verse 1 of chapter 13 and read all the way through chapter 14. And if that doesn't give me enough information, I might go back and check chapter 16 as well, because it does mention it twice there. But in reality, chapter 13 and 14 are really where you need to start. And because of using some handy or search tools, you were able to do it a lot faster than you would hunting and pecking through the whole Bible for each city individually. That's it.